Jump off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome. You are tuned into Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on NBC News Radio, CNBC News Radio, NBC Sports, KCAA, home to the Asian Oprah, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, Audible, Tiki Live, Rumble, Podchaser, Amazon Music. I think about 28 more than that. And yes, my new tagline, someone gave me the other day, Dr. Marissa, she's everywhere. And why do I do that? Because I like to juice my life. And I know I've got about 8,000 days left in this body, or hopefully a skinnier version of this body as we move forward with Love My Body Project 3.0. But I am here to splatter more hope and happiness on you. So I want the maximum splatter zone. And I want you to know that you are loving, lovable, loved, no matter how you're feeling. And so I have topics and guests to that end. If you missed my fabulous fifth time interview with my big brother, Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith, as well as Layla Ali for the second time, as well as Trace Austin, the grandson of the founder of Temptations, who I got to see in concert the other day, we miss her, Dawn Wells, Marianne from Gilligan's Island. She was on 5 times. All of that is in my YouTube channel where you can watch and listen. But if you're in the car driving right now, it's all good. But when you land wherever you are, I would love to have you in the chat participating with my co-host today. She is my newest co-host. She is in that Hollywood box next to me. She is a coach. She's a mom. She's a wife. And she's gone through quite a bit of a thing called loss, which gives her the credentials to not only speak about it, because she knows how you feel, but she also knows how to heal from it. Please welcome back to my studio in this new year, Yarona Boster. Good morning, darling.
Good morning. How are you this morning?
I am happy and grateful. And I just noticed a little bit of fuzz on your picture. So can you close any windows you might have open? And if you have your earbuds, I did not catch that before you got on. But I'm so delighted to see you. Happy.
You have them.
They're hidden in your wonderful hair. So happy New Year. Happy flight 2023. That is we've taken off, and we're going to find out how things are going using our gratitude sandwich, having breakfast with Yarona. And I see your eyeballs rolling in. I'm so always happy to see eyeballs. That means you're ready to be grateful with us. This last year, I started this exercise where we have breakfast, and I just want you to, just before we run into the topic, run into the day, what are 8 specific things that you're grateful for? So Yarona and I are going to split 4-4, unless you come in the comment section and add some. And then the bottom of the bun is appreciation. What do you appreciate about yourself? And I've already had wonderful messages from people who have started this practice some months ago, and they are seeing a marked difference in the day that is sandwiched between gratitude and appreciation. So I will start. I am grateful that Yarona's back after her surgery. She looks just the same. So obviously nothing bad happened. And so I'm grateful for my co-host today.
Yay.
What are you grateful for?
I'm grateful I could breathe. Yay.
Yay. Yay! Oh yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah,
Did
it
they
was my
break?
septum. Yeah, my
They
septum,
broke
my
everything.
sinuses. They didn't break everything. They have different ways to do things now. So my septum,
Ah.
my sinuses, my turbinates, my adenoids were removed, a whole bunch of stuff. But I feel great. I can breathe.
Yay, that's awesome. I'm grateful for medical technology, medical advances, our medical community who took a bad hit with all of the stupid conspiracy bullshit talkie that went on. Ask me how I feel about that. But I am grateful that overall we still value medical technology and the advances that they make. What are you
Beautiful.
grateful for?
I am grateful that this new year feels really filled with possibilities. Just possibilities everywhere I look. I'm like, whoa, okay, I've got to start figuring out how to say no. And and I'm realizing that that is actually a really great thing. So
It is. It is. I'm grateful that we're getting a lot of rain, which we need in Southern California, and but a breath of comfort and peace to those who had some loss in Sacramento and parts of Northern California.
yeah.
So that's my third gratitude. What are you grateful for?
I'm grateful for this is going to sound funny, but my son is getting really great at drawing now. He's really getting into the whole drawing thing and just, he's really starting to shape things and make things. And it's so amazing to see that process in action when children really morph into their own beautiful
Mm.
thing.
Beautiful. I am grateful that yesterday when I did my book signing at my building, and it's a dog friendly building, and there's the dogs all know me, and it was so cute when one of them, the mom brought Jet, one of my adopted sons, to the event. Instead of going to the 5 other dogs there, it came straight to me, and there's nothing like love, unconditional dog love from a dog. So I'm grateful for that. Last but not least,
Oh, I'm grateful I still adore animals. Even without having had the opportunity to bring another animal into our lives, I love watching those. That's probably one of my favorite things, watching really sweet and silly animal videos and stuff like that. And one of the things my son loves to watch with us are America's Funniest Home Videos, the animal version. So we're always watching that and we're always getting great laughs and adoration out of those.
that's great. Has he seen the little ducks that blow in the wind?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, you have to do me a favor.
Yeah.
Tape him watching that because that would
Okay.
be a great reel.
I will. I will.
And his reaction. Just put in YouTube baby ducks blowing in the wind.
Oh,
It's
gosh.
adorable.
That's
Adorable.
probably a lot better than the screaming goats that he's been
Yes.
watching.
Yeah, I would say. I would
Yeah.
say. All right. And that is the top of the bun. Gratitude. Start your day with gratitude and go to bed with appreciation. Why appreciation? Because we are taught subconsciously, consciously, not on purpose to make us feel bad, but well meaning, sometimes more mean than well. Parents will say, you're not all that. Don't toot your own horn. Chinese, the nail that stands up is hammered down. And as a result, we grow up looking for love and approval in all the wrong places. So, this is an exercise that I want you to work your muscle of self approval. So, what do you like about yourself, Yarona?
I love that I'm always still open to the opportunity to learn new things and
Perfect.
finding those things. It's awesome.
Phenomenal.
Feels great.
I appreciate that I have a good sense of style. It might be a little unique, but it's my style.
Okay, I'm definitely going to say I appreciate that I don't have a unique sense of style, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. I'm all right with that.
Good. I love it. I appreciate that I love to sing. And I'm semi good at it. I'm 88% good at it.
I was just thinking about that. I was listening to some music and I was like, oh, is Dr. Marissa going to ask me to sing?
Uh,
And thinking
do-
about it, I still appreciate my ability to sing. I don't do it as much publicly anymore, but I still appreciate it too, for sure.
Rainy days and Tuesdays always
I
bring
don't know
me
that one.
up. It's a
I don't know
Carpenters.
that
It's
one.
rainy days and
Oh,
Mondays, but I just said it's
Carpenters. Okay.
Tuesday. I appreciate that I am optimistic and I love going up. Hashtag you unlimited P possibilities, to tag on what you were saying before about lots of possibilities.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Last appreciation.
I appreciate that I'm starting to discern and kindly decline things when they don't feel authentic to me.
I appreciate that I am 88% fabulous and that I am okay when I'm 12% stepping in it.
Beautiful.
And that was the last one. Thank you
Yeah,
so
I think
much for
so.
having breakfast. I forgot you started. Having breakfast with Yarona and I this morning by taking a bite of our gratitude sandwich. And before I forget, at the end of the show, I will be giving away Asian Oprah giveaway tickets to, get ready, drum roll. I got to get a drum roll sound. It is The Temptations.
Ooh.
And it's not your imagination. They are to the Saban Theater this Friday, and I just got the okay to give away at least, I think, 2 pairs of tickets. So I'm going to give one away today, and I'll give another one away sometime between now and Thursday. So first, well, no, I'm not going to tell you how until at the end of the show. So you'll stay to the end of the show, but remind me, okay, Yarona, to tell people how to get that pair of tickets to the Saban Theater, where music meets the soul. Dana is so kind, longtime supporter of this show. Lots of great ticket giveaways. Engelbert Humperdinck, I am also going to give away those tickets later on this week. Let me give a pair of those tomorrow. Hopefully I'll remember. And that's also at the Saban Theater this Saturday. So I've actually seen him in concert and he is rocking it. And I also had the pleasure and privilege of interviewing backstage the Temptations earlier last year. And that's on my YouTube that you can go get and watch on the red carpet. And finally, the daughter of Otis Williams, the founder, is my new co-host on Fridays. Woohoo! So, I mean, I love my life. And the whole story is too long to tell here, but we'll tell it on Friday how that all happened. But I just mentioned it because we'll be giving away really good tickets all week. And now Yarona is going to tell you what we're talking about today. If you did not see the promo, I always love when I learn things as well. And Yarona is an expert in a lot of things that have to do with loss. And it's especially important because, Blue Monday is coming up this Monday. So this is your preparation for Blue Monday. So Yarona, take it away. What are we talking about today?
Yeah. So this is really all about the stories we tell in the face of loss. When we have people we love and we're losing them or we've lost them, sometimes we find it hard to find them again in our hearts. The loss overwhelms our capacity to let them live there in all parts of them, the good, the bad, the ugly, the dark, the light, all of those things. So this is all about those stories we tell and the why we tell those stories and the how we get to bring them back alive.
I know that you've had loss, so I want you to qualify first and just bring me to the kinds of loss that you've had. I will also share mine. The one that I talk about on the show a lot is I lost my dad. I didn't really lose him. That I think that's the one thing. I know it's the title of our special series, but I think I'm trying to change the whole way we look at death,
Yeah.
one person at a time, because I think we make it a little more sad than it needs to be. Now, I know we've disagreed and talked about this, and it's really important for me to let people grieve. So I'm not taking that away, which is great that you're here to help us with that. But um, my father was pretty good health his whole life, and then I got the call that he, fainted in the bathroom, and they found bruises all over his body, like out of the blue. And he was 69 years old and just retired, from being a professor his entire life, time to travel and all of that stuff. And yeah, they couldn't figure out what was wrong. And then 8 months later, he lost his battle to lymphoma. And so that was my biggest loss, because my dad, I was a daddy's girl. And so I used to say I could just fall into my dad. He was always there. He was my biggest fan. And yeah, so that was a tough one. That losing, having him die. He held my youngest daughter in his arms at 21 days old. And that was the last time that we saw him. And a few months later in Toronto, he didn't want me to come to the hospital because I had a newborn, didn't want me to travel, didn't want me to see him. But the best thing about my father was the month that he spent here looking for alternate care, different homeopathic solutions for the lymphoma, seeing different doctors for second and third and fourth opinions. He was up at UCLA, so I have friends who are doctors there who were really trying to help him. And I got to write him a book called Letters to My Dad. And I wrote stories, as you're saying, to capture and communicate with him how special he is and continues to be in my life, and what he taught me as a father. And it gave us a wonderful month. Every day I would go and sit. We rented a place in Seal Beach, and I would go, and instead of sitting there crying, I did cry. Tears are the disinfectant that keep our hearts soft. But letting him talk about his regrets, letting him talk about, things that he wished he had done more of, letting him listen to my appreciation of him, letting us laugh over the things that we remembered. And though that was a book of stories. So I do know that I have done what you're talking about today, but I wanted to personalize it because I think it's an opportunity that some of us, when people are dying, and we're all going to die, but that last month is so, how are you feeling today? We got to get you through the COVID. We got to get you through the cough. But there's little or no stories because you're so focused on the diagnosis and the symptoms. So
Yes.
I rest my case.
Yes, yes, beautiful. And I have to tell you that I would probably overwhelm everyone if I was to tell you about all the losses I've had in my life. I mean, we could be here for hours, but the truth is, my father was a Holocaust survivor, as you know, and starting off life in that perspective was very different for me. But I've lost, just to list it as a laundry list of loss, I've lost both my parents to cancer. I lost my niece and my nephew to severe rare disabilities. I lost babies, over 10 years of infertility struggles. I've lost loved ones, and I'm currently losing my best friend and brother to a horrible cancer, and he is 47 years old. So loss is painful, yes. But does it have to be focused only on the pain of what you're losing? Or can you get to a place of acceptance that it's inevitable? The avenue of loss is the road we will all inevitably be on, period. Full stop. It is unavoidable. If you're a human on this planet, you will lose someone in your life at some point. It's not about the if, but the when, right? And we still get a choice to choose which memories we want to focus on. And when you keep someone in your heart, not just the idea of them or what they represented in your life, but the distinctive memories that embodied who they were, they will remain alive with you forever, even after their body is long gone. So for me, I think about it in some of the funny and maybe darker stories that I tell about the experience I had with my father and losing him. In my TED talk, I specified about the moment when my father and I had to figure out what was going to go on his headstone. So it was a really funny conversation that we had where he said to me, Yarona, I don't want one of those, like, forever in our hearts stuff, the normal stuff. I want something people will remember, I remember some of the moments in that final journey with him when this was right before he actually went into unconsciousness. He was not really eating anymore. And my mother and my older sister had this big argument over what we should do about that. Like, oh, should we force him to eat, et cetera, et cetera. Well, when the body is transitioning into its last stages of death and the dying experience, one of the hardest things for most people to give up is the idea of feeding them, because sustenance equals life. But that's no longer their journey. That's no longer the place they're heading. So after this argument, luckily I stepped in and was like, I'm his medical proxy, so just let's forget this, but we're doing what's needed to be done here. But I remember this very distinct conversation we had at dinner. We, wheeled him out, sat him at the table. My sister and my nephew were there, and my mom and myself. And my nephew and my sister at the time were joking, and they were just saying the funniest things. And I'm sitting next to my father, and he wasn't really eating, but he was watching them. And he had this little smile, this little smirk on his face. And he suddenly turns to me and he goes, "This is such an amazing play." He had this moment where he thought that it was like he was at a theater production. And I know that, his faculties were starting to go, but what was amazing about that was that he was really amused by it, and I was in turn amused by the opportunity to give him moments to smile. One of the last words my mother ever said before she fell into unconscious, my sister said to her, well, my mom wanted a beer. She desperately wanted a beer. And Sam Adams was one of her favorite beers.
Okay.
Well, she was already losing her ability to swallow at this point. So really, we were just giving her things on a toothette to be able to taste it. So when somebody went out, got us a case of Sam Adams and got it on the toothette. And before my sister starts to give it to her, she's like, well, you want what you want. And my mom's response was, when you want it. And then she just kind of like put it, and she gave this big grin, and those were her last words before she fell into unconsciousness.
Oh, wow.
And I have some really fun. I have a darker one, which is my sister and I were sitting around my mom's bed when she was unconscious, and we like to play music, just to kind of give that environmental feeling of like, okay, there's some music playing. There's, music definitely gives a soothe to the soul. My sister's like, I don't know what to play next. And then we're both scrolling through our music, and she's like, okay, Stairway to Heaven. And I'm like, oh man.
I knew it. It's right before you said that, I went, I bet it's Stairway to Heaven.
But
that's beautiful.
And I'm like, we were hysterics. We were hysterics because we also knew this was a moment my mom would fully be laughing with us. And we knew her spirit was laughing with us. Even if she couldn't say as much, we knew that. Those memories are really fresh, but it doesn't even have to be the memories on the journey to. It can also be memories that really encapsulate who that person was to you. You know, my
Mm.
mom was such a strong person. She was so strong. She was the type of person who, when my sisters and I were teenagers, she was like, listen, you guys are going to learn how to change the oil in your cars. And we're like, wait, what? You know, but that's
Ooh.
a big part of it. The encapsulation of what made those people who they were, not just what they represented in your life, but those memories, those distinctive memories of how they represented it, how they represented that to you are really important, right? We get a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times caught
Mm-hmm.
up in this idea of this is my parent, this is my, you know, this is my brother, this is my sister, this is my friend, this is my so and so, right? But we forget who they were. A lot of times that memories we share. My mom used to call my friend Daniel Striped Tiger. Now, he's dying, and
Oh, this
I
is the
was
one, your
talking to
friend. Okay.
his yeah, and I was talking to his wife, and I was like, "Oh, that Daniel Striped Tiger." Now, my mom's gone, and there was the that crystallization of the moment to be able to connect my mom and her, my friend, important to me. Because it reminds me that where they've gone, my hope is that he will also go too. And they'll be joking around about that. You know, I grew up with him. We had our diapers changed next to each other. Some of the embarrassing stories I could tell you, let me tell you, I told his teenage son some of these embarrassing stories when I flew down to Florida to visit him. And he was like, "Are you kidding me?" He was laughing in
Oh.
hysterics when he
Mm.
picked me up from the airport because he's like, "Oh my God, I can't believe my father did all this stuff." But it's that now I've gifted to him the opportunity to think of his father in those ways as well, and not just as the symbol of being his father.
Absolutely, absolutely. And what a great example. Thank you for sharing that. And I call it in my coaching and in my book, Eight Ways to Happiness, the balance tool is called remembering them whole. And it is balancing out all of the sad memories that come with loss or someone dying close to you, or a tragedy where someone dies suddenly, with all of the great fun and laughing and naughty, all of those kinds of stories. That's what we're talking about today. You see Yarona here, my co-host in the special series on Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It, Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show. The series is called Love, Loss, and Living, and you are tuned into that. Feel free to chat. Feel free to ask Yarona questions, make comments, ask me questions, because we want this to be as interactive as possible. I did get a text from someone who said they don't like remembering those who have lost because they always cry and they don't like crying, and so they don't think about it. And
Okay.
my response to that is, tears are the disinfectant that keep our hearts soft. And if you work with me, I will give you a little whack with a wet noodle anytime you apologize for crying. And I'll tell you a little story. I was so touched, and I've never contacted her. And I always say I'm going to contact her. But very early in my motivational speaking career, I was at a talk. I have no clue. I don't remember where it was. I don't remember the city. I don't remember the stage. But I remember her name, Carolyn Lukensmeyer, and I've never looked it up, and one of these days I will, because in the middle of her talk in a big stage, it was a conference about something. I think it was about community and how we used to be connected to our neighbors and our community and our country and our planet, and we've lost that connection. And she stopped in the middle of that and began just to tear up, and you could hear it in her voice. And she didn't apologize. She just stopped and just allowed herself to be one with her emotion in the middle of this giant, there was hundreds of people, maybe thousands. I remember it was a big stage. That's all I remember. And I stood there and watched her be one with her sadness, her grief, and collected, didn't apologize, and then carried on. And it was one of the most beautiful things I'd ever seen. And as a motivational speaker, I realized, because there were people going, like embarrassed on her behalf, and she was not embarrassed. And I was so like, OMG, that moment, those moments in your life where you go, okay, I get it. And that's the moment I knew the importance of allowing yourself to be sad. And so if you're a person that doesn't like to cry, apologizes when you cry, is embarrassed when you're crying, hate the fact that you cry, I got 2 words for you. Stop it! Be one with the fact that you can feel. It's so important to feel. Those people who cry all the time, I got to tell you, you probably have just backed yourself up like a dam. And there's just a lot there. And that's why. But because if you cry, I make a date with myself once a week to cry. Once a week. Because I know that part of me is a beautiful part of me, and it's just as important as laughing. So there you go.
Can I speak to that too?
Yes, please.
Okay. There's an imagery that comes with this, and it's so important for people who, like that person who messaged you. It's like an ocean. Imagine, if you would, your tears are this ocean. You have to dive through them, dive down deep through them. And it may be a really hard journey, and you may feel at times like you're almost drowning in it. But when you get to the bottom, you find Atlantis. You find this wealth of beauty that you would never have imagined was there at the bottom of that ocean. You have to be able to submerge yourself in the feelings in order to be able to come to the part where you will gain the gold, the treasure, the unimaginable beauty that is the other side of that loss and that pain and that suffering. What I see happen for a lot of people is when they well that up, when they dam that up, they destroy their own capacity for the depth of feeling that they can actually find on the other side.
Beautiful.
And you cannot scratch that surface until you're willing to just jump into that ocean of tears. Let yourself have that opportunity to swim deep. You will find the beauty on the other side. One of the things that I had a very hard time with was coming to terms with the fact that my parents were never going to meet my son. It was one of the hardest things that I came to realize, when I was losing my mom, I had finally decided, I talked with the doctors ad nauseum, and they were shocked that she had even made it as far as she had, because her cancer was very severe and very fast. When I finally said, okay, it's time to call hospice and, start on this next period of transitioning into the end stage, I was pregnant. I was 11 weeks pregnant when I lost that pregnancy, when I brought hospice in. One of the things that was so painful to me was realizing too that I thought this pregnancy was going to be the one that made it, because my mom was pregnant with me when she lost her mother. I thought, it's fated. It's meant to be. Okay, maybe, I'm losing my mother, but I'm gaining a child, all this sort of stuff. One of the hardest things when I lost that child was coming to the realization this was not the same journey. This was a different journey. And I was so angry and so resentful at a moment that I was kind of like, my breath was taken away. I was just frustrated, angry, resentful, disappointed, hurt. And I had to see clear past all of those emotions to recognize it wasn't going to be a replication of the journey she experienced. Certainly, she had a different relationship with her mom. This was our own journey to have. And that I had to be okay with not being okay with it. I had to say, okay, yes, I'm angry about it. Yes, I'm resentful. But losing her and losing my child were a part of what I was experiencing. And there were no explanations for it. There were no good answers. There was nothing there that was going to give me necessarily hope. And I had to be okay in that moment with losing that, but also recognizing that the journey I had was so unique with my mom that I was okay with it. It wasn't okay, but I was okay with it. It was a very hard thing. And I will say that loss is not easy. No. And it is hard. And I don't love when people are like, oh, be grateful for the things you had. That's not what I'm talking about. That's not.
Yeah.
Because I've met people who are like, why did I have to lose my parent when I was 11? Why did I have to lose my child when they were 5? Why did there's no answer to the why.
Right.
But we get the choice on what we make of the time we've had. And the way they live in our hearts is to wholeheartedly accept the good, the bad, the disappointing, the ugly, the resentful, all of those pieces together that make up the entirety of who that person was to us.
Well said. Well said. Lots of points in there. Lots of great recommendations too. I learned from my co-host, which is one of the reasons why I invited her to be my co-host, is that when there is loss and when people are grieving, there's a temptation to want them not to be so sad or not to cry or not to suffer in their grief. And so we say things, well-meaning things. Sometimes they are impacted as more we mean than well. And I have learned myself that the most effective way to help someone when they're going through grief is just hug. Keep my mouth shut, right? If they want to talk about it, but talking about it sometimes is counterproductive, right? You can't unring a bell if you say something stupid, even though you this is where intent and impact as a communication strategy. I tell people all the time, when you intend to be helpful and respectful and loving and caring, but your impact is hurtful, unintentionally insulting, unintentionally hurting, and when someone has the fortitude or the balls to say to you, ouch, that hurt, and then you get defensive and go, I was just trying to be helpful, I was just trying to be nice, I was just trying to get you to be happy. And it's like, well, yes, intentions are good, but intentions that don't meet your impact, right? What would you rather have? A good intention or a hit on the impact your intention and your impact meet? I would say the more effective way is the latter. But we in this, especially in America, we are so like defensive when I meant well. And I didn't mean to. It was just a joke, right?
Right.
It's just if it was so important that I didn't use that term, then give me the Bible of the ways I should address you. Or your name's so hard to pronounce, use a nickname. It's so hard. And it's like, wow, we're so forking selfish. It's all about me and how easy it is for me, that I don't give a flying fork through a rolling donut how it
Right.
impacts you. And we've got to, that's the whole valuing diversity road that we have been bumping along.
Right. Right.
Right? So
You're
if we
not.
want to help people who are feeling grief, isn't it more important that we are there to give them a hug and no words than to try to cajole them out of where they are? If they know that they are over suffering and they are tired of being tired, and they're tired of being sad, and they're tired of being of dealing with their loss the way they are, they'll come to you.
Yes, yes. And and a lot of times the way that somebody processes their grief and their pain is simply through needing the space to talk and not have you give them advice or give them judgment or give them here, do this
Try
and
this.
you'll stop being sad. So the best thing you can do is be honest. I love you. I am so sorry you are hurting. I have no words, but I have arms. I can give you a hug. If that's what you need, if you need space, I'll walk away, give you space. You tell me what you need, but I don't have any answers for you. If you can be honest and admit you have no answers, that's the most important thing somebody's suffering. And, to go back to what you said before about intentions, people do get so caught up in their intentions being good that they forget that the other person is hurting and in pain and suffering. They start suffering from the backlash, right? They're whiplashed from the pain that somebody may have lashed out, My sister said something to me after my niece passed away. She said, "Why do people keep saying, at least she's no longer suffering? Why was she even suffering in the first place? Why? Why did she have to suffer in the first place?" I had nothing for her. I had no answers. I don't know why, whatever higher power being God and whatever you believe in chose to put two children on the earth to suffer in the short lives they lived. I don't know. I don't have any answers for that. I see it all the time. I don't know why suffering. Nobody knows why suffering. So stop trying to answer the why. Stop trying to give people like almost excuses for their loss. Well, maybe this wasn't the time for you to carry a pregnancy to term. You'll have your time. God has a reason. Da da da. All this sort of stuff. Those don't help. Get over trying to say something you think will be a wound healer when the truth is you're just putting a little like butterfly bandage on a gaping wound. That's not helpful. It just gets sticky. So
Yeah,
stop
or
trying to do
salt
that.
on a wound, or even salt
Right.
on the wound. It's a bad enough. My father used to, when he was dying, and he was having trouble with the swallowing, and my mom would like scold him for the way he was eating or something, or scold him for his cough, like he was coughing out a lung in the end. And she would, criticize him. And finally, the best thing about my dad was a little bit of a codependent and also, hated conflict. And so he would never stand up to my mom. And the best thing about that time, and this sounds horrible, but he said, he finally looked at her and said, "I feel bad enough dying of this cancer. Do you really have to make me feel worse with criticizing the way that I'm dying?"
Oh my God, that's perfect.
I was like,
That's
"Go,
right.
Dad, man, that's like
That is
one
so
set
good.
of cojones that you never showed." That's a little on the morbid side, but adding to, because what we're creating here is a dictionary of things not to say when people are going through the pain of loss. Yarona mentioned a bunch of things. If someone miscarried, you don't say, you're going to have another child. When someone's dying of cancer, they're not well, at least they're not going to suffer anymore. Do not say that. Here's another one. Oh, it was good, and I lost it. Here it is. I know how you feel. I'm sorry.
Oh, gosh.
Now, you may have had loss. It reminds me of the end of this film, completely different topic, but it's the same principle. So I'm going to say it. The beautiful guest I've had here, who's, I think, a phenomenal educator on how to not teach your children about prejudice and discrimination. Her name's Jane Elliott. If you haven't seen Frontlines, the collar exercise, how Jane Elliott taught her elementary school kids about exclusion and inclusion. It's called A Class Divided. It's free on YouTube. Go watch that. But they replicated that, how we teach children about discrimination and how to discriminate. They repeated it in Oprah's studio, my honorable moniker, to teach, so adults can also be taught how to discriminate by having, I think they had armbands or something, red or blue eyes, brown or blue eyes. And in the debrief, a white woman said, well, everybody has felt some kind of discrimination. So we all know what that feels like. And kudos to a Black woman who looked at her and said, you have no idea what it feels like to look in the mirror and have Black skin. Your differences, you have no clue how I feel. So do not say that. And at that moment, I mean, that applies on so many levels, right? Because even if I have lost a father, I know what it's like to lose my father. And if you've lost your father, I have an inkling maybe of what that feels like. But no one can ever 100% know what that person feels like, because our fathers were different. We had different situations. So to dismiss someone's feelings by saying, I know how you feel, that's a no-no.
Here's the thing too. I totally agree with you. Here's the thing too. I've met couples who are dealing with infertility struggles. Even the partners can't say to each other, I know how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
When you are dealing with a loss, or when you're dealing with whatever it is, hardship that you're going through, you individually are experiencing it based off of who you are today, from everything that built who you became, every component to that. So when you think about it, you can't even say that both partners feel the exact same way or completely understand each other. No one person completely understands one other person, because everything is unique to the relationship you have with that struggle and loss. You know, my experience with losing my father is different from my sister's experience losing my father. You know, it doesn't matter what it is, your relationship to that specific experience and that specific person, that specific whatever it is that you're dealing with is unique to you. So saying I completely understand, or saying, oh, I totally get it, or, you know, any of these things that make you say you're in the same boat or you're experiencing the same exact experience are wrong. But I will tell you this. This is something I say to my infertility support group when I run it. So we're all in this boat of infertility together. We're kind of like in one of the rescue boats from the Titanic, right? We're all in the boat together. Now, that said, one of us may be dealing with a young child who's on the boat with us, or one of us may be dealing with being the one to pass out all the life jackets. Another person's trying to guide us with the binoculars. Another person's desperately looking for the map, or another person's paddling, and another. everybody's got their own roles in that boat. So while we may all be dealing with infertility, it doesn't mean we're all experiencing it the same way or the same thing. Same thing
Yeah.
with death and loss and anything we experience. We may have that unique perspective of it, like parents who have lost a child, but every single one of them has it unique to their experience with that child, and everything that came before that.
Great. You are all getting wonderful free coaching here with loss with Yarona Boster and Dr. Marissa on our special series, Love, Loss, and Living. It is our Tuesday series. She's back now for good. So every Tuesday morning, if you know someone who's going through loss, we do talk about it in some way. So please do tune in every Tuesday morning now that she's back. And you are tuned into Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show every weekday morning here on KCAA, NBC News Radio, the station that leaves no listener behind. And we're coming up, as usual, about the end of the show. If you would like to further this discussion in a private way, how do people know when it's time to sort of turn that corner? So both of us are available for this kind of coaching. You can find Yarona Boster on yaronaboster.com, right?
Footprints.
Sorry.
That's
Thank
okay.
you. Footprints.
Coaching.
Footprints
Coaching.
I'm going to write it down on your
.org.
it's on
I
your tab.
apologize.
Okay.
It's on my little
Okay.
tab there, but it's a little cut off.
Yeah, that's my
Footprintscoaching.org.
footprint. Footprints.
Yep. Coaching. Yep. .org. You can absolutely. I'm always happy to do one-on-one coaching. I also do workshops. I do speaking engagements. And I'm actually going to be writing a book. I am writing a book, so that'll be launching at the fall.
Beautiful. So we'll close with that. When is it too early and when is it too late? Thank you for. I just noticed we got hearts. We got a finger. Somebody gave us a finger, a thumbs up.
I'm glad you specified what kind of figure it was.
I'm so bad. I just love saying that. It's horrible. I have a wonky sense of humor sometimes, but I don't know who to thank because I can't tell. You haven't checked in on the chat, but thank you for that. But what is your final word on this? And like a little bit of, when would you say? He liked the joke. Timothy, he likes my sense of humor. Good. When would you say is a good time to say, I know I'm now losing my life in grief. What point would you say that is?
It's the interesting thing about grief is that it's easy to lose your life at any point to grief. A lot of times it takes people time to work through the resentment and anger portion of that loss. And then sometimes it might be a year or two later when suddenly the resentment builds to a place where you stop functioning. So the thing is, the recognition and awareness is there. You have to be able to reach for it. When you stop functioning in life, in all aspects of the emotional gamut that we live through, and you only are stuck in this place of anger and resentment and frustration and disappointment for your loss, that you can't find happiness in anything, that is
then
when you need to figure out how to let go and how to move forward. Yeah.
Great. And we're out of time. I promised first person to go to drmarissa.life will get the pair of tickets to the Saban Theater to see The Temptations this Friday night. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Dr. Marissa and co-host
Yarona Boster.
will see you next Tuesday.
Almost
It's
forgot
all
my
about
name.
balance. Peace in, peace out, world peace through inner peace. Now, tomorrow, dream expert Julie Laura will be here. So tune in and go and have the best day ever.